In this lesson, I want to go over a pivotal idea, and that is why results are not linear. So let's say you're studying for the MCAT, the DAT, whatever exam that you have, even in organic chemistry or in this course or any of your other STEM courses. You're essentially presented with a series of concepts. There's a curriculum, right? So let's say this first concept is resonance. Let's say this is acid-base chemistry. Let's say this is SN1, SN2, this is E1, E2, and this is alkene chemistry. Just chose concepts at random. Obviously, there are quite a few more. Same thing with the MCAT when you take it, or the DAT, whatever test that you have to take for your grad school admissions, right? And so you have these series of concepts, and as you go along studying, you feel like you got a strong handle on what resonance is, on what acid-base chemistry is, on what SN1, SN2, on what E1, E2 is, on what alkene chemistry looks like, right? But then you're tested with a few problems. Now, each concept is going to have several different tricks and traps associated with it. So let's say there are 5 tricks that they can test you to see if you know how to do it, right? In different contexts, different scenarios, with different, maybe deceptive tactics in terms of figuring out what the right answer is, right? So if each question has a series of tricks associated with it, just because you understand the concept, the precepts of the concept as a whole, is not necessarily sufficient to guarantee that you'll get the questions right. And so this is what students don't realize. Their progress, their results, oscillates, and it's often not linear. And that's why. Let's say you're going through taking practice tests and even reviewing those practice tests really well, right? And so maybe you're exposed to the 5th trick when it comes to resonance, the 3rd trick when it comes to the resonance, and the 2nd trick when it comes to resonance. But you haven't seen trick or trap 1 and 4, right? And so as you go on, maybe you review. So let's say you start to review the problems that you've seen. You've reviewed 2, you've reviewed 3, you've reviewed 5, right? And so you're like, okay, I understand the concept, and now I understand each of these problems. Then you go on later and you get a resonance question wrong, right? And you're like, wait a second, I thought I understood resonance. Why didn't I get it right? It's because there are a few more tricks and traps that you have not been exposed to, right? So maybe you haven't seen it in all of its various contexts, right? So yes, you've seen certain resonance problems. You're getting more comfortable with them. You've reviewed them very deeply, but there's still others that you have not seen. That's why your results are not just going to be linear. They're going to oscillate until they stabilize. The same thing with all these other ideas, right? There are problems that maybe you have been exposed to, you're reviewing, and you think you've got down, but then there are a few that you have not seen, different contexts, different traps that you have not fallen for yet. And so you get frustrated as if, like, I get this, I understand resonance, I understand acid-base chemistry. Why am I not getting every question right? Again, there is a variety of contexts in which you can be asked these problems, these ideas, these concepts. And so it takes time. You have to have persistence. You have to have grit. Just because you've seen these ideas in certain forms doesn't mean you're going to get all the variations correctly. You need to be exposed to them, even the ones that you have not yet seen. And so as time goes on, you're going to oscillate in your score, but eventually you'll see all the different variations in which they can ask you an idea. And hopefully you'll have seen them multiple times, all the variations multiple times, to the point where you have a level of mastery on this test, on any test that you take. Again, the results are not linear. This is normal. And now you understand why. There's so many variations of which they can ask you ideas that even if you have the ideas down. You still need time to see the ways that they're asked and all the traps that belong to them. And so you have to give yourself the time and understand that you are going to have days where you perform worse and days where you perform better. And it has nothing to do with the work ethic that you're putting in and more to do with all the insane amount of variations that these questions can be asked in you.